How's it, everybody? Today we're doing a short video on sort of just a breakdown of what I carry with me every time I go to the beach, the tackle that I have, and the general supplies that I just take with me every time. I've been asked a couple of times to do a sort of just a tackle breakdown of what I carry, what we have, what I bring. And up until this point, my tackle box has just been such a nightmare that I did not want to make a video showing everybody how horrible it was and how unorganized and terrible and full of old line that I picked up off the ground it was. But luckily now I've pretty much fully adopted this the Fisk bag here by Times9. We did a review of this tackle bag maybe about a month ago. I'll include that in the description if you want a full breakdown of that. But now that I have all my tackle kind of coalesced and properly collected and at least minimally organized, I can show everybody. Oh, what's that? The burb. Losing it over there. Now that it's all kind of collected in here, I can show everybody what I have and not just be scrounging through every little bit of my old equipment. I used to have, basically I'd have, what, 3 tackle boxes with me? 3 bags. I had a backpack, the fanny pack, and then usually an extra something. However, now that I have it all in one place, I can do a quick and easy description of everything that I take with me and not have to dig through 50 different bags.
How much easier has it made your life?
This organizing it has made my life substantially easier every time I go to the beach. So take it from someone who was completely unorganized. Organize your tackle at least to a minimum, because you save so much time when you actually know where things are and you're not just digging in the bottom of your backpack and stabbing yourself in old hooks. So I'll start with the 3 biggest things, which would be my 3 actual little tackle box cases that I have. All 3 of these fit in here perfectly, and it leaves this little gap in the side here that I can put 2 other objects, being my headlamp and a little weight. I'd recommend, especially in Hawaii where we seem to fish all the time at night, just keep this in your backpack, because again, learning from experience, if you don't have your headlamp on you, it's going to be the time that you wish you did, and you're going to be sad, and it's going to be pitch black, and you are not going to have nearly as much fun in the dark as you would if you actually had your headlamp. So I have these 3 boxes. They're kind of broken down into some easy to understand spots. I got hooks, leads, lures, and then kind of a combo of hooks and lures in this one. Some of the larger ones that couldn't fit in here. So I'll start off with the lead box. Pretty simple. All I take in this one is my spare bank leads. I have the heavier bank leads in the side pocket over here, which I'll show you guys in a second. And then I have my whipping leads, various sizes. I usually use 1/2 ounce, which are these ones here. Oops. But I have a whole bunch of different sizes too if I might need them. The 1 ounces, the 1/4 ounces. I also have, in the lead department, split shots, a whole bunch of different types of split shots. Those are important, especially nowadays when we're doing more and more bait fishing and trying to catch small bait. The split shots are just critical to have any success in doing that. In this one, I also keep my dunking hooks. So I have my whipping hooks in with the lures, and then I keep most of my dunking hooks all kind of collected in here with the rest of my axillary dunking tackle, like the leads and the swivels. So I carry with me 3-way swivels. I have a couple different sizes. Right now, it's almost all the large sizes because we used the other ones up this last weekend. Caught a couple OEO. That video is going to come out pretty soon. Also, whenever I find tackle, I just clip off the good part and I just store it, because I mean, it's free tackle on the ground. Why would I not do that? I have snap swivels, various sizes from the larger ones to the smaller ones. I always try to use these snap swivels. It's the one with this bar that goes down off the clasping end. So when you unhook it, you can see there's that bar that goes up. That adds a lot more strength to the snap swivel than if you just have like this type here. I have a bunch of these left over because I kind of don't like to use them as much. It doesn't have that little upper gate, and if you get stuck or hooked up on something huge, there's a possibility that this can open up. This part will be what fails, this lower little bar. So if you have that part that protrudes out of the bottom like this one, it adds just a decent amount more strength. So I got snap swivels, I got normal barrel swivels. These are for whipping. Whenever I'm tossing together a whipping rig, I usually use these small little barrel swivels. Small size are the ones that I like to go with because they're a little more hidden. Also like the black ones as well. Nowadays, the black ones seem to be a little bit more hidden in the water. I have AH hooks of various sizes. These are great for kind of a bobber rig or even some dunking rigs. Anything that touches this is probably going to get hooked just by the way that the hook faces and how super sharp these are. But that also means that if you drag it across the reef, you have like a monster chance of that getting stuck. So it's kind of like a trade-off. You have the pretty high chance of hooking a fish, but also a high chance of hooking a reef. So that's kind of why I've been slowly migrating more and more over towards straight just circle hooks like these. These work really well for hooking fish. It kind of sets itself when a fish takes this into its mouth and it starts swimming away. It causes the hook to turn a little bit into the lip, and then it gets hooked. So it's like a self-setting hook. You don't need to always set it. If the fish takes it and swims off, it'll set itself. So I've been switching up to the circle hooks, the BKN Missouri circle hooks. I have some in the front. I'll show you the package that I use. Get those from High Fish Gear. Most of this stuff nowadays is coming from High Fish Gear, or actually KTA has a lot of this random stuff I'm using. I keep my hammer bombs in here as well. They just fit perfectly in this random little tackle box I had in my garage. And then I have various other smaller hooks that as I go I just take off and throw in here. That kind of goes back into the, I should probably be next level organized. I'm kind of right in the middle now between organized and fully organized. It's where I am right now. I haven't cleaned my tackle box in like 6 or 7 trips, so it's gotten a little more hammer again. Little tiny hooks, those are bait hooks. Okay, that's tackle box number 1. I keep my leads and some of my standard dunking gear so I know exactly where it is. I can just open it up and have it all sitting there. The second one here, these are all of my whipping hooks and some of the larger lures that can't fit in my lure tackle box. So I have a whole different variety of hooks that I've been using for whipping. From limerick hooks is what I used to use all the time. Now I'm using these, they're called bait holder hooks. They have the front barb, they're offset a little bit so that the point is a little more revealed and not hidden by the shank of the hook. And then I have these reverse barbs on the shank there, these two pointing backwards. So when I feed a grub onto here or some kind of lure, these reverse barbs hold it really well and doesn't come off when I'm dragging it through the water. It sticks on there really well. So these are kind of what I've been using mostly now, is the bait holder hooks for whipping. So I got just the loads of different hooks in here for whipping. Couple random flies, couple little dunking ones that I've just thrown back in here. These little bait hooks, these are like, they're called live bait hooks. They're pretty good just for a tiny piece of shrimp. They're really, really strong hook, but they're small at the same time. Then I have your standard kind of run-of-the-mill, various different lures. Just a, Mark White lure, a couple Shaka fishing flies that we made, whip those out. This guy that I was given on Oahu, it comes from a small shop over there. It's a pretty cool one. It looks like pretty much like a little Aloha, and it goes through the water like beautifully. Oh, and I've given it a good crack right on. I didn't even notice that I heard it. Huh, well, keep that in mind when I'm fishing with it. Couple little weird lures, just a whole gamut of lures. This big old boy right here, this thing's pretty sweet. I'll toss some links into this video too with more of these lures. If you have any of them that you specifically want to know, just ask in the comments and I'll find the name. Some of these I don't exactly remember the name of the shop that makes this one here, but it's a good lure. Okay, so that's the lure and the whipping, and then I have just my big old box O lures and some of my bigger gauge dunking hooks that I can't really fit in these other boxes. I'll put them into here as well. This is like my larger have it all inside box. I've separated my grubs into sizes, so I have a whole bunch of these smaller ones, a bunch of the glow in the dark ones here in the middle, and then I have the larger ones here on the left side. Big white ones, gold ones. I like the gold ones a lot. Go for gold. If it's dark, the water's murky, I'll go for a base color like a white or something darker like the motor oil or even a black one. And if it's super bright out and the water's really clear, I'll go for more of the metallic gold ones or something like that. The sparkles work better when it's sunny, and then when it's dark and murky, you need something that has a lot of contrast. Just either solid color contrast so that fish can actually see what's going on. And I have some of the Big Island baits, lures. I have some, this is a bait 08 one. These are really trippy looking little paddle tail ones. I have just cast masters. Here's one of the giant cast masters. This one we caught a couple papillo on. It's been going strong. That was given to us as well. Smaller cast masters. This little guy basically looks like a little hole hole, and it swims very well through the water. We changed one of the hooks out, but I should probably change the other one out too. Oh, and now there's a bird on my head. And there it goes. What's up, Sonny? We got all those smaller little strips, bait strips. These are all Big Island bait strips here. Then we have some companion lures. We have the little squiddy guys. These are pretty trippy little ones. I like them. They look really cool in the water. So that's pretty much the whole thing about this tackle box. Is I know where all my lures are. They're all concentrated in one spot, all my lures. And then we have some of this weird bait string. If you have just shrimp that's been frozen a few times and it's fallen apart, you can just whip a few times around that with that string. It helps hold it onto your hook pretty well. Okay, continuing into the depths of the bag, we'll finish up what's in this back pocket first. I keep my bobbers in here because there's lots of room. So I have one of the larger bobbers and then a medium bobber. I'm out of the smaller bobbers. I've lent one out and it got lost. I keep this in here. Danny actually gave me this years ago, I believe. Or maybe I found it in my garage. It's like a emergency fire making kit. So it's got matches and it's got the match striking strips in it. And you know, you never know when you need to just make a little campfire. So it's pretty helpful to have just hidden away in the tackle box with all times. Screws on there like that, so it's waterproof. I always know in the emergency and need a fire, I can make one. I keep $20 lost in here. I don't know why. I guess just in case I have to go to the store and I left my wallet somewhere. Got $20 hidden away. Oh, make that $25. Check that out. Freaking Namabala. AH hooks. I just bought these last time I went fishing, so I popped them open and I poured them into here. I haven't opened up this one, so it's just kind of cruising in here right now. I can throw this away actually. All right, let's go into the middle one. So this back one is all that axillary tackle and lures and different things like that, hooks. And then the front one, I keep all my fishing line as well as my GoPro batteries. So if you're filming, I just have a load of GoPro batteries because eventually they kind of go bad. And then I film like all day, so I just need a pretty big stock of batteries at all times. Let's go through the different fishing line that I got. I reduced the amount of line by quite a bit. I used to have just so many different gauges of line, but I've kind of tried to cut it back on how many I have. And I've been moving over towards some of these smaller amounts for my leaders. So it used to be just all these different lines that I had loose in my bag, just ruining my bag with loose line. I've cut it back quite a bit. So I only have 6 types of line with me right now. Depending on what I'm doing, if I'm going night fishing or something, I might switch one of these up for one of the ones I have in my garage, but in general, this is what I have with me at all times. I have my whipping leaders. I have 4-pound, 6-pound, and then 12-pound for when I'm kind of stepping it up. And then I have all my dunking set up here. So for my dunk, I use the Yozuri fluorocarbon. This is what came in that all ready in one Shaka Fishing dunking rig that High Fish Gear set up for us. If you haven't seen that, it's pretty sweet. I'll drop a link for that as well. For my dunk, it's just these 3 lines. I have 15-pound I use for my lead. The 30-pound I have on my actual rig. It's spooled up on my spool, but I keep it on the side because once in a while I want to use 30-pound for something. And then I have the Yozuri 50-pound fluorocarbon line. This is what I'm using for dunking. So this goes off my 3-way swivel and to my hook. The fluorocarbon is almost invisible in water, so this stuff is just winners in my opinion, and it seems to be working pretty well from when after I transitioned over to that. I've just been totally happy in how it's been working. It is expensive though, so keep that in mind. I really use it pretty sparingly. Those are the lines that I got. I'll stack this over here. In this pocket I have a few other things. I always keep my bait knife, some kind of knife with me. This one was a kabar that was given to us. It's just a sweet little knife. It's cheap, but it's super sturdy. Every time I take any of this stuff out too, I put it into the water, I always rinse it off or clean it. This one I give a little wash. So when I put all this tackle back into here, before I actually put it back into the box with all my other tackle, I'll just take my water bottle and rinse it just a little bit and then put it back. So I'm kind of trying to keep the saltwater isolated off of the central gear area because it will cause just loads of rusting. So we got the knife. I have another little pack of flies in there. You never know when you use that. These are those BKN hooks. The rest of them are in here. I just finished out this pack, so I kept it in there because I wanted to remember the exact size hook I was using, which is the 18s. Those are a good little medium-sized dunking hooks. To go along with the flashlight, I always keep this UV light in this bag as well, so when I'm night fishing, I don't have to worry about my headlamp and I don't have to worry about this. I have this with me pretty much all the time. And that makes it so that you can charge your grubs up just way quicker than using the headlamp. What I used to do was, take the headlamp and shine on the headlamp, but only like 10 seconds shining on this, and that thing is just glowing to the maximum instead of holding it to your head the whole time. I have some extra sinkers in here, 3/4 count. I'm actually gonna put that into here when I'm done. Another little emergency lighter that should be hanging out with my matches in the back, and then the last of those little bank leads, which you know, I guess this is the time I'm gonna get to organize as well as explain everything in here. And then I just have some tackle that I picked up off the ground. We went through the 2 main packs. Now I just have these last 3 little smaller areas. We'll start off with this front pack. In here I keep just a few, ooh, this is a dunking rig that I set up and I cut off and I decided just to keep because I'm gonna just send it back out next time I go fishing. So you can ignore this for the main part. Extra dunking rig already set. I have that smaller bobber that I was talking about earlier. This is just a wooden one that we found that I've just been reusing it for a while now. And then I have things like my snippers. I keep these in here at all times, and as soon as I get to where I'm fishing, I put them in my pocket and I leave them there so I always know where they're at. So the rest of the stuff I keep in this front pocket. I keep those Maruto BKN hooks. I keep them in the original packaging because it just helps me to know which sizes I'm using. I got the 16, the 14, and the 18, which I ran out of. I gotta pick up more of that. Actually, I should probably do that like tonight. These came with that Shaka Fishing all-in-one dunking package I was talking about with the line, and I've been using them since then, and I really like them. They're strong hooks, and in combination with the line, I lose like way less rigs than I used to. I've been using a new knot as well. I should make a video on that. The German folks taught us that. We went fishing with probably like 4 months ago, and that knot is way better than the one I used to use. I have just some simple preset rigs here, some little preset fly rigs. We tried to go akule fishing a little while ago, and I was just testing out some of these simple pre-made rigs to see how they work. I got another one here I never even opened yet. The Sabikis. It's the pre-made awesome little rigs. And in addition to that, in the front I keep all these small little hooks. There's another thing that was gifted to us. These are awesome little bait catching hooks. So we use these for the oamas that we've been catching a lot of over the summer. These little hooks are winners, and they're all just nicely stowed in here, and I know exactly where they're at. So the main things I've been using is those dunking hooks and these little hooks. So I just keep them right in the front so I know exactly where they're at. We have a bunch of these little eyes. These are really sweet little guys if you want to toss them onto the line when you're whipping so that above your lure is a little eye. Another thing that was gifted to us, now that I'm going through this bag, this is like 90% of the stuff you guys have given to us, so huge mahalo. Keep those just hanging out in here so I can just throw one on when I feel like it. I have a Kiave seed pod that I keep in here because I had to throw it at Ara because she's the one that threw it in there earlier. We had a little Kiave seed pod fight yesterday.
I definitely won.
I don't know about that. I just got you back again. Chapstick. Oh, you missed. You never know when you need chapstick. And then bells. I have 3 bells that I usually keep in here. This one, another size up, and then the hanging one that I keep on my dunk. I slide that into this front part. I don't have that in here right now because we went fishing yesterday. It's downstairs. I washed it because I wash everything when I put it back in my bag. I don't want it to rust. And then just a little bit of lead and stuff that I should probably have organized. So that's what goes into the front part of this pocket. And then we only have these 2 side pockets left. In this one I keep emergency batteries. I have all my little AAA batteries that I use in the case that my headlamp dies. And then my leads. So I have these 6-ounce leads, and then I have 4 ounces that I usually have in here as well. I used the last 4 ounce yesterday, so I'm gonna have to pick up some new hooks and some new 4-ounce leads because those are all gone right now. But those are where I keep the bigger leads. They aren't gonna fit in my little tackle boxes, so I just keep them nice and secured away in the side one in their original packaging. And then on this side, the all-important emergency supplies known as toilet paper. That is clutch. I recommend all of you putting it into a little Ziploc bag and storing it away because it makes great kindling and it's also pretty good for the purpose that it was originally made for. Boop. Hidden away, good to go, because you never know. And that's all that I keep on my person when I'm fishing. This is the whole tackle bag and all the supplies that I need for pretty much anything that I'm doing nowadays, whether it be whipping, dunking, whatever it is that I'm out there fishing and doing. I have everything I need organized and collected in one bag instead of 17 different bags and a whole bunch of other stuff like I used to. It makes my life 1,000 times easier. Glad that I finally dedicated and actually cleaned that. Huge mahalo to Ara, who helped me actually sit down and spend an hour cleaning out my old tackle bag and sticking it all together in something that's not just a total mess. I'll go downstairs right now and I'll show you the last few items that aren't in a tackle box but that I usually carry with me when I'm fishing. So here is the last little bit of gear that I usually carry with me at every fishing trip. I always have pliers with me. Normally these are kept inside of my tackle bag right next to my fishing light, but these have reached the point of no return. For the past like 4 years, I just keep buying like $2 pliers from Walmart over and over again, and they die usually after a couple months of conditions out here in Hawaii. So this has reached the point where I have to soak it in some WD-40 and revive it. So I took it out of my tackle bag last night to begin fixing those poor things. The other stuff that I take with me every time is a bucket, because I like to have something to keep live bait in and also carry some of this more bulky stuff. I take with me a little pump for live bait. This one I picked up from High Fish Gear. Man, these are like crazy cheap. I think this was only like 15 bucks, and it's surprisingly durable. I've gotten this thing soaking wet on accident a couple times, and it just comes back from the dead over and over again. Simple, but works and is effective. I keep my pair of tubbies with me at all times, because no matter where I usually fish, I'm gonna wanna have tubbies with me due to how slippery and gnarly some of the conditions are here in Hawaii. I keep my pole holder. This is one of the ones that just pop open, swivel up like this, and then bang, oh, you're ready to go. If I'm going somewhere I know it's like just rocks, I'll take the rock spike version of this instead. And then to top it all off, water bottle. I always just have either a hydro flask or some knockoff version of a hydro flask with me, just so I have a good amount of water. I'm not constantly buying water bottles every time I go out and spending all my money on water bottles instead of more essential stuff. All this is out here right now because I cleaned it this morning from our fishing session last night, and I gotta now hopefully get it to dry out, even though it's been raining for like a week every single day. So that's gonna be a bit of a struggle, but neither here nor there. And then the last things I carry with me is a cooler, which is currently at Brother Jared's house. We caught an o'eo last night that we're gonna cook up in the next couple of days here, and he kept it at his house to prepare for us. And then I take a whipping and a dunking pole with me on all my trips, so I can either whip or I can dunk. This is that dunking setup I've talked about twice already in this video. And then I have a whipping setup that I take with me all the time. Currently, I'm just using this Okuma rod. This is actually ours whipping rod, but for the last couple months, I've been kind of snagging it and making my own use of it. So I keep that with me. I keep the cooler with me. Usually, we'll take turns carrying the cooler and we'll put all the gear in the bucket, and I'm getting mobbed by mosquitoes right now. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna make this short. 2 rods with me. This is the rest of the axillary tackle, and then everything I have upstairs in my bag is that's it that I have with me on all my fishing trips, and it's all I need. And nowadays it's way more condensed than it used to be, and I can tell you from experience that it's making my life 1,000 times easier by just taking the steps I needed to get a little bit more organized and condense and remove some of the stuff that I didn't need. Down the line, I'm gonna make another video and I'll just go through all the different pieces of gear I got, all the reels, all the rods, but this one was mainly about tackle, so hopefully a couple people out there might have gleaned a few pieces of information that might help them in life. And if you see a few things that you think I can improve in my life, maybe you have a sick pliers that you know of and can tell me about, or something else you might recommend I take or leave behind or change, please let me know. Always learning, and it can always improve. Die mosquito. Okay, I'm gonna go hide again. Huge mahalo for watching, everybody. Till the next one. Doo-doo.